Hi, Lauren and I are here today in the Coherence Lab, and we'd like to talk about the difference between an inquiry approach and an intake approach to getting to know what's happening for a guest, a client, a patient, however you want to frame it. So I know you, Lauren, have had a significant experience in your practice when you moved to an inquiry perspective working with people. And I was wondering if you'd like just to describe what feels different for you.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Lois, I think what's interesting is I think it happens in stages, because the intake is something when we go through our training that we feel like I have to have these things to know what's going on. But the emphasis there is that so I'll know what's going on.
Mhm.
And I think one of the most important things to note here is that I'm not the most important person in that equation to know what's going on. My client, guest, practitioner, or patient needs to know what's going on. That's where the emphasis needs to be. And I think I had to release that first, um, because I felt like a sense of responsibility and my getting the information I needed.
Yeah. But it was like interesting, like this is sort of where we came together because the in my training, the intake was an inquiry. And so that it had a structure to it, but it was all aimed at finding out what's going on for this person, what's happening for them now, how do they want things to be, and being able to sort of see. So what in the middle here, what are the things I can help them with to get what they want?
Right.
And so it's just like then watching people like you work with your clients or patients and and seeing the difference in how they respond to you as the practitioner is very, very interesting because it feels like you get more um, participation
Sure.
with them, more partnership. Is that
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things flooding in here, Lois. And because it is to be able to do that, we have to accept a couple things to be true. And one is that I'm not the expert and that we're coming in on equal grounds here, that you have an expertise in your experience in your body, and I might have an expertise through a certain lens, but we're coming in on equal terms. And I also need to let go of my desire for a particular outcome. I'm trained to resolve your challenges or fix, right? And so I have to let go of that. And so, all these things have to go in the background while you're trying to shift into this inquiry model. Um, for me, I think it had another level because I had created this whole system with gemotherapy, and the system was created around an intake I designed. So I had to really get clear with myself was, okay, that served a purpose in helping create the system. And now it's really not necessary. So I had a big challenge in coming back to all the folks that I had taught and said, hey, I know you thought this was really important and I told you it was important, but I want to show you a different way to do this. So it was there are two parts to that challenge.
that's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
But and what I was just thinking about, like the difference when I go to a practitioner and I get the form that I have to fill out, uh, and I mean, which is fine. There is information that they need, but then to go in and then we just go over the form rather than them being curious about so the things that came up in the form or when I was answering the questions, what were my, what were the responses and what were the things that were coming up for me that I need to share about my situation. And I think that the inquiry approach that we are working to create here offers that room for the person. I mean, the form may have clicked some things where I makes me think about stuff I hadn't thought about. But so now what am I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Lois, there's so many things going on in my mind because I, I think what has uh, driven me in this process and working with you and working with Christine and the others on this Coherence Lab project is coming directly from my own experiences having cancer and going through all the systems that I did in the German university system and always being a form and no one ever hearing my story or my experience of the story. Those forms and hanging on to this intake is really nothing short of traumatizing. It really is because suddenly you are not being seen and heard just as an individual. Your items on a tick list.
Yeah, it sounds isolating.
Yeah.
You say that. And so, but like what we're trying to do is draw the person into their own health and well-being
Right.
through the inquiry rather than okay here's your list of symptoms or even listening to somebody is they say well they showed up as this
Mhm.
and it's so
Mhm.
impersonal and it makes you feel like a thing and we're moving to no you're not a thing you're a person
Yeah.
and um, how can we help you get what you want and what you need
Right.
but
Right.
you need to tell us
You're a person and your experience matters.
yeah
And I think that that's the piece that seems to be missing. As I'm listening to you, Lois, I'm thinking this inquiry into this is just a vehicle, right? And um, on one hand, if we look at it, the intake, where is that vehicle taking us, that checklist? Well, I have some facts and um, they might, a history and a few things, but I really don't know who that is as a person and how they're experiencing those facts. Because the more we've stepped into this world of healing, come to understand that your experience of a particular diagnosis or symptom may be completely different than someone else's experience.
and your path to healing is going to be different it,
Exactly.
it isn't textbook like this is what's happening this is what we do it's like what are the things that are going to work for you
Yeah.
so
Right. And we lose that whole sense of self and individuality and sovereignty. And so, if the intake is that path, I think the inquiry is a path to giving you back your power because suddenly you're seen and you're heard and you're part of the equation, not just your disease or your condition.
treating people as human beings
Yeah. What an interesting idea.
yeah but it was good like it's good to hear your experience of actually having traveled this path of this change so that recognizing that it isn't the easiest thing in the world for
No.
practitioners to do but also being able to see the benefits
Yeah.
of this and just letting go and being in the space with that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like we have a visitor here that's interested in being seen and heard as well. Yeah, well,
So
great, Lois. I appreciate reflecting on that. I can think of so many other things, but I think this gives us some information to put out there for right now and let people digest that.
and help them understand what it is that we're trying to do here.
Great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.